Hello and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. Today we are actually doing a recording for NCAA March Madness. My name is Dilbert, and joining me today is Wingus the Dingus.
Dilbert and Dingus break
Yeah,
down March Madness. That is today's show.
if you're
But
familiar, if you're familiar with the comic strip Dilbert.
I mean, what happened to you? We were known as the bearded council for a long time. We even got comments on YouTube thinking us and the intern were triplets because we all had glasses and had beards. And now look at you getting rid of it. This like I don't even think we're allowed to have people without beards in the show, but here we are.
Two things. One, I did it to mess with my family. Two, technically it wasn't supposed to be part of this show today. So, shout out to our guest. Hope you get better. Yeah, let's kick it off. We are gonna do a debate of
Yeah.
every game in the tournament.
Absolutely, and of course, we led off sounding like doofuses, and we will be very entertaining throughout this. But we'll provide you some good nuggets as well to help you pick your brackets during this March Madness season.
Yeah, pay
So,
attention to Wingus the Dingus, not Dilbert.
we will be doing this region by region. So we are going to be kicking this off with the East region, then the South region, then the West, then the Midwest. So let's kick off with the East region here. Our first matchup, the Duke Blue Devils versus Siena Saints. The Siena Saints' first appearance in well over a decade, back when Fran McCaffrey led them to tournament wins 2 years in a row before he left. Very underseeded here against Duke. What are your first thoughts?
My first thought, baby, is oh, when the Saints, oh, when the Saints, oh, when the Saints go marching in. Sienna by 50. No, I'm playing. I mean, how often does a one seed lose to a 16 seed? Like twice in our lifetime?
Twice ever, yeah.
Yeah. So, so yeah. I mean, I don't like those odds. So
Yeah,
Duke's pretty strong right now.
yeah, I agree. I hate this for Siena. I've really thought the MAC, as I like to call it, because it's got the two A's, it
Mac.
was far too strong of a league to place their champion as a 16. But and unfortunately, like getting matched up with Duke is just really unfortunate for Siena. So a short-lived trip for them. I think we'll have Duke moving on in this one. Next, we go to Ohio State and TCU. Ohio State in the tournament for the first time in a few years. TCU, Jamie Dixon has led them back into the tournament again. What are your first thoughts?
I mean, I feel like TCU was underrated there.
Yeah,
I mean, Big 12 is better than Big 10, and TCU has one more win. But
yeah,
but I guess Ohio State played two more games, so I don't know. My gut says TCU in this one.
yeah. I think it's a good rule in general to usually pick the nines over the eights. And really, this year, I don't think it makes a lot of the difference because these one seeds are so good. I agree with TCU on this one. Jamie Dixon usually manages to get his teams one game around there. Next, we have St. John's in Northern Iowa. Get ready because this game is going to be an absolute rock fight. Both teams very heavy on the defensive side and not consistent offensively. What are your first thoughts?
I mean, 5-12 is usually smelling some upsets. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know about this one in particular. I think St. John's was a little. Uh, they got the short end of the stick on the seeding also. Um, as much as I want to pick Northern Iowa, I think. Shoot, what's his face? His son literally coaches at Xavier.
Rick
Patino.
Pitino.
Yeah. I think Patino's got them going enough to, I don't know, at least get out of the first round.
Yeah, I looked at this game like Northern Iowa is like usually a pretty good spoiler team. Ben Jacobson knows how to win in the tournament, and if they shoot like they did in Arch Madness, this team is absolutely lethal. Problem is they've had some time off since they finished their conference tournament. For a team that was getting hot at the right time, I don't know if I like that extra time off. I'm going to go with St. John's as well. So far, no debates. Next, we have Kansas versus Cal Baptist. Cal Baptist has one of the most interesting players in the tournament. Dominic Daniels Jr. is an elite scorer. He went for 47 at one point this year. But don't lead that to believe that Cal Baptist is an offensive based team. This is actually a strong defensive team. They usually prefer to slow the pace down a little bit. Can Cal Baptist pull off the impossible, or do you see Kansas rolling here?
I mean, how Cal Baptist won was one to talk about on that missed dunk, and they walk away with the win.
Yeah,
That was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I
A
know.
buzzer
Like
beating
all the
dunk,
commercials.
a buzzer beating dunk that just rims out.
Yeah, and like all the commercials around there, they're always like, they're selling their product like it's a slam dunk, and now that phrase doesn't work anymore.
No. That being said, though, I think I don't know. I really don't want to keep chalking this thing. I guess we had an upset with TCU, but I don't like too much chalk. But I feel like this is one you got to chalk.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting region just because there's so many really good coaches here. A lot of legendary coaches in this initial region, which is going to make it a bloodbath later on, but I don't know if it leads to a lot of hope for upsets. Next, we go to Louisville in South Florida. This South Florida team has been electric down the stretch. They are very good on offense, and they've been playing better defense down the stretch too. They had times early in the year where their defense wasn't so great. We'll see if that resurfaces against Louisville, but what do you think about this one?
I don't know. I watched a couple of Louisville games, and maybe it was just the ones that I saw, but Louisville didn't overly impress me. Like, you could tell they were good, but they didn't really impress. And for that reason, I think that this is smelling an upset.
I kind of like that too. Like I want to go with the South Florida Bulls in this one. It's a team I like playing the hot hand here. They're playing such great basketball right now. Louisville has been kind of up and down all year. The one thing I will mention is that Louisville typically they've been struggling against teams that are higher seeds and usually taking care of business, but there's just I don't know. This Louisville team just doesn't feel special to me. But while the South Florida team, the way they finished down the stretch, that feels special to me. I like the Bulls as well. We go to Michigan State and North Dakota State. North Dakota State had an excellent year. They have a lot of options of guys who could score for them. But, I mean, Michigan State, they don't call it January, February Izzo for nothing. Who do you think could win this one?
Well, I mean, we're used to seeing Michigan State as a 1, 2, or 3 seed, and I feel like the past few years they had dropped down a couple pegs. I think they're kind of back this year. I think Tom Izzo kind of found his group. I don't know if they'll win the whole thing, but I think that they can make it a round or two. So I don't know. I think Tom Izzo's got this group at least getting past North Dakota State.
Yeah, kind of a rough exit to the Big Ten tournament, which kind of tells me they'll show up pretty fired up for this one. So, yeah, I agree with Michigan State on that one. We go to the 7-10 matchup, UCLA and UCF. Mick Cronin, angry as always. Could and then taking on UCF here. I mean, we either get we could looking ahead, we could potentially get a second round matchup with two angry coaches or civil conflict. But we got to focus on this matchup first. UCLA kind of up and down all year. UCF a little bit underrated, I feel like. But who do you like in this one?
I agree with you on the UCF on being underrated. I feel like Mick Cronin is good to get your team to the tournament. And then you really have to have that feel to know if Mick Cronin is going to go further. They're good on defense. They're going to be starving for buckets. Not like even without a defense on the court, they're going to be starving for buckets. And then you
Yeah.
put
Now
UCF.
I'll give you this. The one thing McCronin has been really good at UCLA is at least winning that first tournament game.
Yeah, I just don't have a whole lot of faith when it comes to Mick Cronin because, like I said, it's a feel thing for me with Mick Cronin. I don't feel like this team has it in them. I feel like they're gonna look at UCF and be like, "Yeah, you guys really still belong in the American." And I feel like that's how UCF plays is, "Hey, we're no longer part of the American. Stop saying that." So I think that UCF's going to put up a fight in this one. I think they win it.
We have our first disagreement here. I'm not going against Mick Cronin in that first round game. I don't know if they go any further, but it's just I don't know. Like the when I initially this felt like one of those matchups where I initially looked at it, I liked UCF, but then I thought about it more, kind of looked more at UCLA's history, and I feel like I'm starting to like the Bruins more here.
I'm not opposed to picking Mick Cronin. I just know how he is in tournament time. We can. I will concede. We can choose UCLA, but just know I'm doing a separate bracket, and for that one, I'm picking UCF.
Good deal. Mentioning angry coaches, Dan Hurley and UConn taking on Furman. Furman, another team that really feels like they got underseeded, and I understand like a lot of the regular season was kind of waiting for this team to live up to their potential. But when it came to the conference tournament, they did that. This team has a lot of talent. The last time they were in March Madness, they pulled off an upset. Do they have another one in them?
No, I think UConn wins this one favorably.
Yeah, I just don't like betting against Dan Hurley in March Madness. It feels like he's a pretty sure thing. So we gotta have UConn moving on there. And now that gets us to the second round of the East region. The Duke Blue Devils taking on TCU. Does TCU stand any chance here?
No,
Yeah,
I think was it Cam Boozer
yeah,
for Duke? I think Cam Boozer is gonna kind of lead this Duke team pretty far.
yeah, I agree. I know there's some injuries there which may hurt them down the line, but um, again, like these one seeds are just so good this year. It's definitely a lot different than what we're used to seeing with that. So Duke definitely moving on there. But then we got St. John's and Kansas. Rick Pitino taking on Bill Self.
That's a coaching matchup.
Yeah, yeah. This is where again, like we get all these legendary coaches in this region.
I don't know. I think this is where St. John's can pull it off. Um, Kansas is really good. Kansas is always really good, but I think Patino's got a special team at St. John's right now.
Here's the thing that worries me about them. I feel like last year St. John's was really trendy entering the tournament, and this year again we're kind of seeing that where they were very trendy. St. John's last year was basically, I think, like the only top three seed to not make it to the Sweet 16. They were the biggest disappointment of the whole tournament. So that kind of has me worried about them, and I feel like we're also in that situation where nobody's really talking about this Kansas team. They have a lot of talent on there, and they've shown at times this year they can be elite. I don't know if I like doubting Kansas in the spot, you know?
Yeah, I just any team that loses to Cincinnati at the end of the year, that a Cincinnati team that fires their coach, I don't have a whole lot of faith in. I mean, their Kansas coming into this game is 5-5 in their last 10. St. John's is 9-1, and their only loss was to UConn.
Yeah, although that loss kind of felt like five losses.
Yeah, that was a big
Uh,
loss, but
but they did get
um,
the revenge.
yeah. The only thing is though, St. John's 6 more points a game, um, offensively, and then defensively they give up 1 more point per game. So to me, a lot of things just say St. John's wins here.
Okay, we can go with
You can blame it on me.
it. Our next matchup, we have one of our upset picks. We have the South Florida Bulls taking on Michigan State. Can South Florida keep this run going and no go another game? Or will Tom Izzo continue his winning ways?
I think Tom Izzo continues his winning ways. I think South Florida, as good as they are, they got the short end of the stick getting the East. I think if they were to face any of these teams in like if they were to, not saying that they're a championship team, but if they were to make it to a championship game from the West or the Midwest, I think then they could take on some of these teams. But early on, the experience alone is going to get some of these coaches to move on to the next round. So I think this is where Tom Izzo is just like, yeah,
Yeah, this is I don't know if South Florida has enough defensively to stop Michigan State here. And then the battle of the two angry coaches. Dan Hurley versus Mick Cronin. No matter what happens in this game, someone is going to be complaining before, after, and during this game. But on the court, UConn versus UCLA, who will win?
I allowed Mick Cronin to get a first round win. That's at best with this team. UConn is
Yeah,
gonna wipe the floor with them.
yeah, I agree. Again, I said that Mick Cronin was going to get UCLA through that first game. The second game kind of depends on the year, and lots of times, not so much. In this case here, especially, not so much. Not only do I not trust UCLA, but also UConn is just a very tough team to play, and I think they're going to be pretty fired up if they're the beatdown St. John's gave them. That gets us to the Sweet 16 in the East region. We have Duke versus St. John's. The Rick Pitino run, can it continue, or do the Blue Devils keep it rolling?
I think it's one of those things where that Blue Devil offense is just too good. No matter what
Yeah,
defense you have, you're not going to keep up offensively with them. It's just tough. I don't see a way that St. John's wins this game.
yeah, there's not much of a path. I mean, they can force some turnovers, maybe do something like that, but for the most part, like it definitely feels like Duke is going to win this one. And then, man, I mean, what a showdown with UConn and Michigan State. This one, Dan Hurley versus Tom Izzo. This is going to be if this is the matchup here. This is an elite matchup. What are your
They
first thoughts on that?
they're very similar teams. I mean, statistically at least. Michigan State 6-4 in their last 10. UConn 7-3. Michigan State net rank is 11. UConn 10. Um, Record against top 25, just 1 win off. So they're like right there neck and neck statistically with each other. UConn.
So here, let me put this out here then. One of the things we need to think about, because we are putting together a bracket here, one of the things we need to think about is that usually you don't have back-to-back years where more than two one seeds advance to the Final Four. So we may need to think about what our path is here because I think UConn can beat Duke. I don't think Michigan State can.
I don't think
So
so either.
if we want UConn to the final, if we want a not a one seed to the Final Four, UConn is our path forward here.
I mean, I was gonna say that UConn will probably squeak this one out and move on. I don't like a 1-2 matchup, but at the same time, this is the best part of the bracket. So I think Duke and UConn are just too good.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. So we're moving UConn on here, and
Although I
then
can see Michigan State winning this game, but I don't necessarily think that Tom Izzo would get that gang going much further.
yeah, but now like we get Duke versus UConn. UConn, I feel like if they've gone this far, I feel like UConn could pull this off. Again, Duke dealing with that injury. Um, Maybe that comes back to bite them once they get tasked with dealing with an elite team like UConn.
Are all four guys like out for an extended period of time, or are they just out the first game or two?
So, Caleb Foster is their main player that got hurt. He is a key piece to the team. They won the ACC tournament without him, but they definitely looked more vulnerable. Florida State nearly took them down in that tournament. They had a last shot of three for some reason when they were down one. Don't know why they did that. But yeah, so that's kind of the situation there with Duke.
Foster expected return April 3rd, which would be around this game.
Yeah, well, no. Elite A is around the end of March, 3/23/29. So if they get to the Final Four, then you have him. So this is really like for Duke to make a championship run. This is the game they have to survive.
Yeah. But I mean, before this, they weren't, judging by the matchups, they weren't necessarily like overly tested either until this matchup.
Yeah,
But can is Boozer's probably the favorite to win Player of the Year, right?
I would say it's pretty close. Yeah,
But I mean, 22.5 points per game in college. That's your entire team, pretty much. So
there's a lot of really good one and done players, and then you have UConn, kind of a more experienced squad on their side.
I don't know. I'm okay with UConn upsetting here on the basis that um, Duke is shorthanded, but I don't know. This Duke team just reeks of championship caliber ness.
Absolutely. But hey, if we're to win these challenges that we're a part of, we gotta be bold. I think UConn going to the Final Four is bold.
All right, let's do
All
it.
right, we got UConn in the Final Four. They're coming out of the East region. Now it's on to the South region. We get started with Florida taking on the winner of Lehigh and Prairie View. I will be in attendance for Lehigh and Prairie View, so I'm very excited for that. My first ever NCAA tournament game I've gone to attend is a very random one, but I'm very excited for it. Unfortunately, probably not much of a shot at taking down Florida here.
No, I don't think so. Florida's really good.
I was really hoping, like when they were announcing it, that like Lehigh would show up next to Duke. Matching them up with Duke again would have been so diabolical. Um, Clemson and Iowa. This game feels like it's going to be a lot of points.
Yes.
Both teams love to score. You've got a Clemson team that kind of I don't know. Both these teams are kind of difficult to figure out because like they're both just kind of there.
Yeah.
They were very solid. They did enough to be like solidly in the tournament, but they did no more.
Yeah, I want to do the 9 seed over the 8 seed, and I think that's how a lot of people are seeing this game is like Iowa has a pretty good chance of winning this, but I mean, I don't know. It's like a crappier version of the game I mentioned before, the Yukon Michigan State game. It's like that, but a crappier version. So like, I don't know. Part of me just says like because there's always that 1-8 seed that moves on. So part of me says that Clemson can pull this one off.
I know. I feel like Iowa's going to be a popular pick, so maybe we go Clemson here just to kind of go against the grain a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that
You gotta like the setup here for Florida though, because these two teams are not at all threatening to the Gators.
one.
Although what will be threatening the Gators, maybe one of these teams. So Vanderbilt and McNeese face off. Vanderbilt, obviously, a really strong, resurgent year. McNeese is a team that is there. They're basically the same team they have been the last few years. They, even though if they're under a new coach, extremely strong on defense. They love to force turnovers, love to rebound. This is a dangerous underdog team, but Vanderbilt is also just a very good favorite. This is a tough one.
It seems like the 6-11 seed is now the 5-12, so picking like a 12 over a 5 no longer makes as much sense as it used to. I don't know. This is one that I kind of want to pick McNeese State.
I know, I know. Like the funny thing is though, like I look at this quadrant of teams here. We'll be talking about Nebraska and Troy in a moment. Like I'm looking at this, like I have no idea who comes out of this. No matter what, whoever comes out of it is going to be like pretty much a new face in the Sweet 16. So that part is exciting. I'm very excited to see what this group of four teams does. Um, but you know what? McNeese is actually rated as the most dangerous of the 12 seeds. So I don't know. I think I'm willing to go with it. I think we go with McNeese to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, there's a formula for picking this that gets you like 2 more picks than everybody else. Just because, like, nobody's made it very far in these, but I don't know. There's always a formula of at least one 12 seed wins and at least one 8 seed wins. Like they're the first round games. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm perfectly okay with McNeese moving on. In fact, I would rather see all upsets on this list.
Yeah, and hey, you know what? We gotta represent the Southland Conference a little bit. That is a conference that's been really good to us. So yeah, let's have McNeese moving on here. We go to Nebraska and Troy. Nebraska is still looking for their first ever NCAA tournament win, but then you have Troy here, kind of a sneaky underdog team. Troy started out the year basically playing their entire first 10 games on the road. They were pretty impressive in that stretch. Like they won at Kent State, should have been USC. They were like triple overtime and completely blew like a big lead. And they beat San Diego State. Like this Troy team showed that they can hang with some really good teams, but they weren't consistent. I'm very curious to see how this one goes. What are your first thoughts on
Nebraska ball. I like that's all. That's all.
it? Yeah, I also think like just in our specific bracket here, like we have big knees going. It's been a very long time since the 12 or 13 has made the Sweet 16. So our best bet is to have Nebraska moving on in this game. And then we have North Carolina and VCU. The Tar Heels kind of beat up a little bit. They're dealing with some injuries right now too. VCU ended the year hot. Their defense, they're playing good defense beyond just forcing turnovers now. Early in the year, they relied on forcing turnovers. They couldn't do that. They usually struggled on defense, but later in the year, they're doing a good job of that. Their offense is looking really good. Who do you think here?
6-11 upset, baby. UNC's best player is out until September.
Here's the thing though, like I really want to pick VCU, but it feels like every year, like they're in a decent, they end up with like a decent game that it feels like they could win, and lately they just have not won it. I don't know.
That's why I think VCU. We watched them yesterday. So
We did.
recording is Monday. Posting probably a
Yep.
different day. We hung out on Sunday and we watched them break the hearts of every Duke or Dayton fan in attendance. And I don't know. I kind of liked what I saw from VCU. They kind of ended that game earlier than I thought they would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So we can have VCU moving on there. I'm not going to complain about that. Illinois and Penn. We get an old Big Ten rematch here. Brad Underwood versus Fran McCaffrey. I cannot believe we get these two facing off again. Fran McCaffrey getting Penn in the tournament in his first year there. I mean, on a team called the Quakers, it's just what an incredible combination for Fran McCaffrey. Do you think Fran has one in them, or Illinois kind of just roll here?
I think I want to pick Penn so bad. I really do. But I think Illinois is one of those where you can like pretty much just move him out of the first round and then see where the matchups go from there. Especially in this case. I mean, Penn's best player this season. I think that he's going to come back on the. I think he'll be back for that game, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it today. It sounded like he was going to be back.
But still, coming off of an injury, last game of the year, Brent can't hold anything back now. Um, I think Illinois gets it.
Yeah, I think the one thing here is like both coaches know each other well. Now, obviously, Fran being down the pen now, like he gets to be a little bit more weird with the schemes and everything. But ultimately, I think the two coaches know each other well, and in that case, talent probably wins out. So we go to St. Mary's and Texas A&M. I mean, talk about two contrasting styles. St. Mary's is going to slow it down, play tough defense, not give you any easy shots. Texas A&M, on the other hand, they want to create chaos. They want to speed it up, play buckyball. Who do you think wins this one?
I don't know. Texas A&M feels like they're one of those SEC teams that just made it in because they're SEC. Like there's a few other ones
Yeah.
above
Yeah,
them,
there's
but like they're like on the cusp of that line, you know. Um, I kind of want to say St. Mary's.
Yeah, I agree. St. Mary's is usually good to win a game. They don't ever seem to win more beyond that, but they usually are good enough to at least go and win one game. Which, by the way, St. Mary's, if you've never seen images of their campus is one of the coolest looking campuses in the country.
Yeah.
We go to Houston and Idaho, the Vandals making their first appearance since 1990 when they played basketball in the Kibby Dome. They were absolutely electric back then. They had incredible home environments, but it's been a long time coming for Idaho, a team that really, for a lot of the year, just felt like they weren't living up to their potential. But then the conference tournament in Starch Madness, they absolutely lit it up. This team loves to shoot threes. So really, they just rely on whether the threes are going to hit or not. But man, this Houston team, just a relentless defense. Their defense is out to inflict pain.
I mean, that's stereotypical Houston basketball, though. At least
Yeah,
what we've seen the past few years. I want to pick the Vandals so bad, but the Cougars, they get it. We're big
I
fans
was.
of anything Big Sky related, so we
Yeah,
really want to pick
I
anything Big
was.
Sky.
I was so sad when I saw this is who Idaho was going to play. I was just like, no, of all the two seeds, not Houston. Yeah, this Houston team just makes everybody they play miserable. And usually they're a very safe high seed to pick. So that's another key there. We go to Florida and Clemson. I think we kind of hinted at this earlier, but I mean, I don't really think we see Clemson having much of a shot in this one against the
Not
Gators.
really. I mean, I don't think either the 8 seed or 9 seed there gets a chance in that game.
Yeah,
So we could just chalk Florida over one more.
yep. And then Nebraska and McNeese. It would sure be cool to have McNeese moving on to the Sweet 16, going one further than they did last year. Obviously, they would really be the story of the tournament then. Last year, they were still the story of the tournament. But Nebraska ball, I think we're going to have them moving on. Just simply for bracket purposes, it's usually, again, it's been a long time since a 12 or 13 has gone to the Sweet 16. So it's good practice for us to have Nebraska moving on there. And then VCU and Illinois. Um, this is another second round matchup. I'm not sure if, as someone who wants to see chaos in the upset, I don't know if I like the second round matchup.
No,
I like how VCU is playing down the stretch. They're playing really good. Maybe they can give Illinois a run for their money, but this Illinois team, when they're hitting, like they have too much firepower.
VCU has enough to beat down an already bleeding out UNC team. They don't really have it in the tank to take down a top program. So, Illinois.
Yeah, I agree. And then we got St. Mary's in Houston. Yet another game that just feels kind of obvious. I mean, both teams are tough on defense, but St. Mary's usually in the second round of the tournament, this is usually the point where their offense tends to hold them back. Now, their offense is actually pretty solid this year, but against Houston, I feel like that's kind of one of those games where St. Mary's just struggles to score and Houston takes off of it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now things get interesting here with our Sweet 16 matchups. We kind of second round was pretty easy to pick there, but I think it gets a little bit harder to make our picks in Sweet 16. Florida and Nebraska. Can this magical run for Nebraska keep going? They've gone past the point where they had their first tournament win. They've gone to the Sweet 16. Now, can they take down the Florida Gators, or do the Gators move on?
On one hand, you don't normally see many 1 seeds making it very far in the tournament. Usually around the Sweet 16, you're starting to see some upsets. On the other hand, Nebraska ball, they're hit or miss.
And the one thing I'll mention here is that Nebraska doesn't rebound very well. If those shots are not falling, they're not going to get another opportunity. And I think this is a game where Florida can really dominate them on the boards.
Yeah. I would say that this is a very winnable game for Nebraska ball, but they got to be on. They can't be like, oh, we'll kind of make some shots here. Like you got to be on and you got to be ready to play. And I think just for the board's perspective, I think in this one, I kind of want to chalk another 1 seed further.
Yeah. In most years, you typically do see a one seed fall early, but this year, the hard part is these one seeds are just different. They are this is the second year in a row where we have an extremely good group one seeds. So that's something to watch. And then Houston and Illinois. I mean, I just cannot pick against Houston here.
Me neither.
I feel like Houston's defense is just too good. In general, they're just such a good team. And again, a very safe high seed to pick as well.
Yeah.
And
Another
you,
1-2 matchup.
I know, I promise we're not going to do this the whole way, but I saw Houston. Like I actually feel like there were five teams, maybe even six with UConn that are at the talent level of a one seed. And that's why we started this out with 2 matchups. Houston versus Florida. I kind of like Houston in this one.
I do too.
I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulders a little bit. They had Florida beat in the championship last year and let it slip away. I think this is going to be a game where they have the target on their back there and get that done. So hey, at the very least, we have two seats in the Final Four. No
And
one
no one
seats
seeds
yet.
yet.
That will probably change. We go to our next region here, the West region.
East? I thought you said West.
So we kick off the West region with Arizona versus the Long Island Sharks, or if you're in the Northeast, Sharks. Um, it- Long Island's been pretty cool this year. They've been having a really good year, and they've shown they can compete with some top opponents, but I don't think it's happening against Arizona. This Arizona team is too good.
One thing I will say, and then I'll give you my pick. Back in March Madness 2008, there was a team called Long Island Brooklyn. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it at all, but they had a Long Island campus in Brooklyn, and their basketball team was terrible. And in real life, they ended up folding and joining in with the Long Island. But I took that team to like 15 straight national championships. And I really wanted to pick Long Island here, but I believe Arizona may be the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, Arizona is too much for a lot of teams. And by the way, Long Island, they were the Long Island Blackbirds and they made their last tournament appearance, which is also entertaining. We go to Villanova and Utah State. Utah State's a team that I actually like. I think we actually got some notice from the Utah State burnerverse on Twitter yesterday because I mentioned it felt like a 9 seed was very low for them. This is a well coached team under Jared Calhoun, and really just very good. Villanova is kind of this team that's just kind of. I feel like they're there. Like they didn't win a single game against UConn or St. John's, but they beat everybody else in the Big East. They're kind of just there. It feels
Yeah.
like.
It's not the same Villanova that we had seen in years past. So because of that, I want to pick Utah State, but they did beat everybody else in the Big East, which is kind of the eye test caliber of Utah State, maybe slightly better in some aspects. I don't know. 8-9 seeds, we're already 50-50 on 8-9 seeds, so I kind of want to throw Utah State over.
Yeah, I agree. Go with the 9 seed in this one. We're pretty tight on it, but again, when in doubt, go with the 9 seed. We have Wisconsin and High Point. This is a game that's going to feature a lot of scoring. Both teams definitely know how to fill the hoop. The one thing to watch out for here is, Wisconsin relies on the threes a lot. It makes them a dangerous team. It's why they managed to beat Michigan on the road this year. But on the other hand, it kind of makes Wisconsin a little bit vulnerable. High Point is definitely a better version than last year's. But I think what scares me about High Point in this specific game, I feel like they might be too popular of an upset pick, you know?
Yeah, especially since they're the Miami that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, they've been a really good program the last several years, even before they made their first tournament appearance last year.
But when you look at what Wisconsin just did in the Big Ten championship, kind of want to go Wisconsin.
Yeah, I got to go with Wisconsin here too. And then we have Arkansas and Hawaii. Hawaii back in the tournament for the first time in a decade. They pulled off a 13-4 upset last time they were in the tournament. Arkansas, obviously a very scary offense team. Hawaii, on the other hand, very defense focused. This team can play terrific defense, but at the same time, they have some guys who can score. And, one of my favorite players in college basketball, Isaac the Big Fish Johnson, he is a guy who has played in the tournament before, had big performances in the tournament, so he knows how to get it done on this stage. Can Hawaii pull this off, or is the Arkansas offense just too much?
Um, is Arkansas more of 3-point, or are they just?
They're really good, and they have Acuff, who is one of the top three players in college basketball.
Uh, I want to say Hawaii, but I don't. I don't know if they can get it done.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. Probably the safe route here, the cop out route is take Arkansas, but I think Hawaii is going to give them a game and frustrate them. But it's going to be, can Hawaii make enough shots to manage to keep up and not let Arkansas go running? That'll definitely be that's one of the first round games that intrigues me.
They're not Kansas. There are Kansas.
I will say though, like I think Arkansas is going to be a very trendy pick to go far, because they won the SEC tournament, and that's kind of one of those things you want to watch out for a little bit because usually sometimes the power conference team that wins the conference tournament gets a lot of hype and then doesn't do as much in the NCAA tournament. Oddly enough, conference tournament success does not lead to NCAA tournament success. But that's something that we'll need to address later. BYU versus the winner of NC State and Texas. I'm honestly very inclined to go with BYU here. NC State and Texas are just not inspiring teams to me at all.
No, but I think if NC State beats Texas, they do have a good shot at beating BYU. I don't really think Texas really shouldn't beat NC State, if we're honest.
Yeah.
They can't,
but the one problem is NC State is not playing good down the stretch.
No.
That is my concern with them. But they pull it together, start playing better. NC State definitely has the better shot of pulling this off than Texas does, like you said. But yeah, got to go with BYU here. We go to the 3-14 matchup. Gonzaga and Kennesaw State, the Owls back in the tournament for the second time in program history. I will say this is one of the I had my dog start filling out a bracket earlier, which actually really is just like I threw two tennis balls and whichever one she picked was that team she picked. And she did not pick a lot of upsets. But the first big one she picked was Kennesaw State over Gonzaga. I don't see it.
Really good.
I think Kennesaw State will try to test them a little bit. Gonzaga dealing with some injury woes of their own right now. I think that could make things dangerous. Kennesaw State is just one of those scrappy teams that really likes to frustrate an offense like Gonzaga, and they might be able to do that for a lot of this game. But I think down the stretch that lasts like 5 or so minutes might be tough. Yeah, or during clutch time, as USA Network puts it.
Gonzaga has like the most experience in the tournament, so like
yeah,
it's tough to pick against them against any matchup. Like a 3-14 seed, it's picking against them is like you know what? Let me just throw all my money away.
Yeah, and I mean last year Gonzaga was like an 8 seed. They had to play Houston, who went on to the championship in the second round. So that ended their streak of Sweet 16s. but before that, like Gonzaga was a team that you could just right into the Sweet 16 and forget about it. Um, so that definitely is an interesting one there. Now we go to the next game here, the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Missouri Tigers. Miami kind of a nice, well, very quiet but good rebound year under their first year coach Jai Lucas. Missouri, just another one of these SEC teams that kind of got in because of the logo patch. Not an inspiring team, but here's the big key with this game. This game is in St. Louis. Huge home field advantage here for Missouri. What do you think about this one?
I do feel like this is one of those where like Missouri got thrusted into the tournament. And it's gonna be one of the it could be one of those where like they could annoyingly win this game to justify them being there.
Yeah.
Like everybody will rip them the entire time, and then when the clock hits zero, then everybody will just shut up because there's nothing to say at that point. So like that's how I see this game going.
Yeah. It feels like Missouri wins, but it'll be very frustrating for those of us that felt like they were not a tournament team. Um, we go to Purdue and Queen. Queens, one of the first time teams in the tournament. I forgot to mention Cal Baptist was the other. So congrats to the Queens Royals for making their first appearance. I think that place is very excited. They got the street dog and everything going there, but Purdue is a tough animal to play.
Yeah, Purdue's really good at basketball. They're not, and engineering, and then not really anything else.
Yeah. Um, this is true. I think we'll have Purdue moving on there. We go to the second round here.
Just move
Arizona,
Arizona over.
Arizona and Utah State. Arizona is just too good. Love this Utah State team. They're a very good team, but Arizona is just on another level. That team is just so difficult. So yeah, I got the Wildcats there as well. Now this is where I think some interesting debate will come in.
Yes.
Wisconsin and Arkansas. Again, two teams that are. This is going to be a track meet. Both teams can really score. It is very intriguing because we've seen both coaches, Greg Gard of Wisconsin and John Calipari of Arkansas. We've seen them underachieve in the tournament sometimes, but Calipari, when he got to Arkansas last year, was led them to be the only double-digit seed in the Sweet 16.
I want to pick Wisconsin. Calipari knows how to put a team together, though, and they're healthy.
Yeah.
And I think
No,
I not saying that they would beat Arizona, but of this game, if you had to choose between the two to have a better chance at beating Arizona, I think it would be Arkansas.
actually, I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think Wisconsin would have the better chance of beating Arizona just because of their 3-point hitting style. Again, by the slimmest of margins. But that being said, I think when we look at this, kind of zooming out a little bit into the picture of our full bracket, I think if we could end up looking foolish having Wisconsin in the Sweet 16, and then you do lose the high point in that first game. Arkansas, I feel like we're taking less of a risk with them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so we'll have Arkansas moving on there. Gonzaga and BYU. BYU actually did make a run to the Sweet 16 last year. Did not um, did not realize that for a little bit, but otherwise BYU is kind of underachieved a little bit when it's come to tournament time. Usually they go about a game and that's all. Um, that being said, I mean BYU is a ton of talent, but just for whatever reason, BYU just cannot win against those elite teams.
Yeah,
And
and
Gonzaga is one of those teams.
they've got a decent amount of people out too.
Yeah. I mean, BYU is the most electric scorer in college basketball, so they're while shorthanded, they are definitely not lacking for talent, but it's just really hard to pick against Gonzaga here.
Yeah, anytime really. I said it earlier, um, but yeah, I think this is one of those games where the magic kind of runs out for BYU.
Yeah, and then Missouri and Purdue. Again, close to home for Missouri, not necessarily too far from home for Purdue either. But I think Purdue is just the better team here. Missouri against some of the more elite teams they've gone against. It doesn't matter if they have home field advantage or not. They have gotten knocked around pretty good. I think most notably, I think the only time they played a Big Ten team this year was against Illinois, and they lost by almost 40 in that game. So yeah, I think Purdue moves on with this one.
I agree.
We go to Arizona and Arkansas. We did have all top four seeds going here,
Yeah.
but I think we're about to get a little bit more creative. Arizona and Arkansas, these two, again, just very explosive teams, but I think I like Arizona here just because I believe in the Wildcats defend a little bit better than Arkansas will.
Yeah, I mean Arkansas's defense is not the best thing to watch. They give up 80 points a game. So
Yeah.
like the only difference is they score 89 points a game. So you get a tough defense in there, and I think that kind of depletes the magic there. So yeah, I agree. Arizona moves on.
Yep. But then finally, we get Gonzaga and Purdue, two teams that have been pretty reliable when it comes to the tournament lately. Purdue has been a lot better in the tournament after the loss to Fairleigh Dickinson a few years ago. But Gonzaga, I kind of want to pick Gonzaga here. This bucks our trend of one versus twos in the Elite Eight.
I mean, when you look at everything, they're close to each other. Just Arizona has more experience with top 25 teams, but again, top 25 is a little bit arbitrary.
Yeah,
Like,
especially this day and age.
yeah, so like I would agree with that. I think Gonzaga is one of those teams where they were the 8 seed last year, and this year they're looking to be like, we're back, all right? We're here to stay.
Yeah. Yep. So Gonzaga over Purdue there. And of course, at this point, too, we've moved, this is the West region. So we've moved out west. And I think that gives more of an advantage to Gonzaga because they're from the West. And then finally in the Elite Eight, Gonzaga versus Arizona. Tommy Lloyd going up against Mark Few, his former mentor. Does student overcome mentor in this one?
No.
You're going Gonzaga?
I'm going Gonzaga.
Really? Oh man, Arizona is one of my favorite teams to pick in the whole tournament.
It's one of those where I just can't put I feel like there has to be a semi lower seed, and I think Gonzaga's of anybody that's not a 1 or 2 seed, Gonzaga has a good shot at doing it. I don't know, dude. I kind of want to put Gonzaga.
Man, Arizona was one of those teams like I had going at least the Final Four without a doubt.
Yeah, I think in one bracket I already filled out, I had Arizona versus Houston. So going against my other bracket here, but
Gonzaga dealing with some injury woes. Can they really go this far?
They got Huff is out, and that's it. And he'll be back by then.
All right, we'll do it. Screw it. Well, let's roll the dice here with Gonzaga. Again, I'm obviously a very good team, a team that knows how to win in the tournament. I think it would be a massive upset, but hey, this is March Madness. It can happen.
Yeah. It'll probably be all 1 seeds again, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of ones versus twos advancing, so hey, at least we got a three in there. All right, we go to Michigan versus. Oh, sorry, we go to the Midwest region, where we will go to our final region of the tournament, and it begins with Michigan versus the winner of Howard versus UMBC. UMBC looking to make it happen again as a 16 seed. Can it, or does Michigan just keep rolling here?
I think Michigan keeps rolling. I think they took a little off the gas in the Big Ten conference and still made it to the championship. And then they were like, oh, shoot, maybe we should kind of play.
Yeah.
And then that's how Wisconsin ended up beating them. So I think they're going to come out.
It was Purdue that beat them, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Michigan.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And then Georgia and St. Louis. Finally, after the long wait, it felt like 2 years ago we should have seen Robbie Avila in the tournament, and then last year St. Louis kind of dealt with injury issues, so they didn't make it. But now, finally, we get our moment here of Robbie Avila making the tournament. This St. Louis team is so good on offense. A very strong team taking on Georgia, who can also score. Who do you think wins here?
Let's do it, dude.
St. Louis.
Let's do it.
Yes, I like that. Definitely like them. I hate that they got a 9 seed and have to go up against one of these 1 seeds, but
guess what? When you're a 9 seed, statistically, you beat the 8 seed.
Yeah, it happens more often than not. I think the only underdog seed to have a winning record against the higher seed. We go to Texas Tech and Akron. The Zips, part of the 2-bid MAC. The 2-bid MAC, something that we have dreamed about for a long time. And it finally happened this year for the first time since 1999. This Akron team is tough defensively, and they have an excellent inside-out game where they can attack the inside, but if you leave the three-point line open, they will knock down some threes against you as well. This Texas Tech team, very talented on their side, very tough on defense. Obviously, the big loss with Toppin out for the year. Who do you think wins this one?
Top scorer out. I kind of want to pick Akron.
I know. Yeah, you know what? We got to represent action here. Let's go with the Zips. 2-bid action keeps it going. Yeah, I like what this team can do. Obviously, they'll need to figure out what to do with Texas Tech's size because Texas Tech definitely has more size than them. So that'll be the one big challenge there. And of course, the one thing, Texas Tech is definitely typically a really safe high seed, but the injury issues might make them a little bit more vulnerable than usual. And this Akron team is really, really good.
If for Akron, I think it would have been a let's do it if it was Vandy. There is a little bit of pause with Texas Tech just because they're typically a 3 seed, 2 or 3 seed. So they fell a little bit due to injuries, but yeah, the injuries is what is getting me through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Alabama and Hofstra. Hofstra in the tournament for the first time since 2001. That was their first year that they changed their nickname to the Pride. Before that, they were the Flying Dutchman.
Why would they change it from that?
I mean, Pride of Lions is really cool too.
I get it.
And it's unique also, but man, you lose the Flying Dutchman.
The Flying Dutchman, it may be one of the best names out there for just forget the logo for a minute. Just names.
Yeah, Yeah, one of the greatest. Like it still makes me sad that they got rid of that just because of how incredible that name is. The Flying Dutchman.
Whoever came up with that was probably just sitting there like, yeah, I did that.
Unfortunately, and Alabama's a team that will shoot a lot of threes. Typically, in past years, they have hit enough of them to win these games. Um, that being said, like I think Hofstra can keep it close, but at the end of the game, the curse of the Flying Dutchman strikes, and Alabama, I think, wins this one.
I think so too. Um, Moving on, let's before we get to the 6 seed, let's start with the 11 seed, the play-in game, the Miami, Ohio versus SMU Mustangs. Two teams that just can score at will. We,
Absolutely.
we got to start with that game before we even
Yeah.
get to this game.
And I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm going to be at Lehigh and Prairie View. That is the first game before Miami versus SMU, which I will be at as well. Um, very excited for my first tournament experience of this game. This game is going to be very, very good. Just like you said, elite offensive scoring all around. Again, with this Miami team, I think you have to pick your poison because like all of these guys can score. Um, and I think the other thing is like I think now they're going to have a little bit more fire now that they lost that conference tournament game. I don't think they're happy with that. I feel like what we saw against UMass was a team that had their target on the back for so long. It looked like they kind of wore out at the end of that game. But now they've had a week off or nearly a week off. I think they'll be fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, I think Miami beats SMU.
Yeah,
Makes a little bit of a statement. The only thing is Tennessee's a tough matchup. 6-11, whatever you want to say, that's still a tough pool for a MAC team. And it's not like
yeah,
they're
but
it's not like they have a bunch of injuries, that you could just kind of make a case for them just to move over. Still want to do it though.
yeah. So here's the thing: like usually one of these first four teams always advances. I think last year was the exception, but that's because, of course, they picked a bunch of uninspiring teams that flopped around all year instead of UC Irvine. Um, Last year was the rare exception. Usually, one of these first four teams wins a game. Um, I will mention on my side, obviously, knowing one of the players, I mentioned on the previous show, like my wife was Ian Elmer's athletic trainer in high school. Happy Athletic Trainer Month. And it's just been a cool ride for us. And of course, in that case, I am biased. So, Matt, you have the final choice here.
I think Tennessee's defense is just a little too good.
Mm, breaking my heart a little bit.
I know it's breaking my heart a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I think of all of the first four teams, I think the best upset could come from that BYU game.
Potentially. That's the thing. Like, I would definitely like the chances of these two teams, the winner of SMU and Miami, against BYU better than them against Tennessee. The one thing that gives them a chance, Tennessee does tend to carelessly throw the ball away sometimes. They are going to need to take advantage of turnovers in order to beat them. So that'll be kind of interesting thing to watch there. But Matt, as the unbiased, has Tennessee moving on. We will go
Don't
to.
get me wrong. I really wanted to put Miami.
I know. Oh yeah. I'll probably end up having them go further in my personal bracket, of course, but that is again because I am biased. Because yeah, obviously, like for a lot of people, Miami's a great story, but for me, it's even a lot more than that. This year has been, however long this ride goes, this year has been one of the coolest college basketball experiences of my entire life.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Um,
before we get too sentimental, even though I think for a lot of us, Wright State making the tournament is really cool as well.
yes. Unfortunately, they get the shorthand of the stick against Virginia, but we had the chance to see Wright State twice as a program, and both times they delivered.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We have extensive knowledge of Wright State because of that. Virginia's on TV a lot though too, so we get to see them on TV. But I do want to also put Wright State over. It's just I don't think they can
So
beat a 3 seed.
Virginia, by the way, is about the quietest 3 seed you could possibly have.
Yes.
No one is really talking about them, and they just kind of go about their business and all of that. I will say Wright State is a team that can both score. They are very balanced. They are a team that has a lot of players who could beat you both inside and out. And the big key for Wright State is going to be, can they force steals? Can they
That's what
steal the
they were
ball?
able to do all of Horizon League.
Yeah. And obviously TJ Birch is the leader of that. He is just a thief out there. I think we've called him that before on this show. But yeah, this Wright State team could definitely put up a fight. I think the big key for them is to be close at the end of the game. We know from experience that this Wright State team, they finish strong in the last few minutes. So that's definitely something to watch there. This is definitely, we're not going to be bold enough to pick a 14 over 3, but if a 14 over 3 happens, I think Wright State is going to be the ones to get it done.
Yeah, I mean they play really good ball. I think they kind of got another short end of the stick on the whole thing. Um, I think they could have been a little bit higher, but whatever.
By the way, I just have to say it's very funny that UMBC is in this region, Virginia is in this region, and then Ryan Odom, who coached UMBC over Virginia, is Virginia's coach.
He did it just
Incredible,
to get a job.
incredible thing there. Kentucky versus Santa Clara. Santa Clara making their first appearance in 30 years in the NCAA tournament. They have been knocking on the door for a long time, but just every year kept taking too many bad losses to get into the tournament. They've shown the ability to compete with elite teams year in and year out, though. But finally, we get to see Santa Clara get their shot here. Can they get it done? I like that grin. I like that
Yeah.
grin. Yes.
Nothing
Uh,
really about Kentucky. Nothing about it screams what they used to be. You know, they like an argument could have been made that they were just a couple of games away from missing the tournament altogether. Which is why they're a 7 seed. So, yeah, I think Santa Clara can do it.
yeah, Kentucky's body of work outside of SEC play is not great in the word, or in 2 words, I guess. And Santa Clara, on the other hand, I think this is a team that's going to be tougher on defense. I think that's going to be one of the keys there. Kentucky does not defend enough. We go to the final game of the first round. Iowa State and Tennessee State. Can Tennessee State pull off the upset? This is an incredible run for them. Their first tournament appearance since 1994, but this Iowa State team is pretty dangerous, and especially is it lethal in neutral sites for some reason.
You know what's funny is I can see my Tennessee State hat, but it's just out of reach.
Oh no! So that's what you're looking at there. You're trying to see if you could grab it real quick.
Yes. So yeah, because it's out of reach, I think this game's out of reach.
Out of reach, just like your hat.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have Iowa State moving on there. We go back up to the top of the bracket, Michigan and St. Louis. Oh, I hate this. Like I love the St. Louis team, but I don't think this run can continue against Michigan.
No, I mean, I don't think that they could have beat any of the 1 seeds Florida maybe, but just because to me Florida may be the weakest of the one seeds, but I don't know. I don't think they would have made it far regardless.
Not as an 8 or 9 seed. If they got like a 7 or a 10, I would like the chances to go further. But yeah, we got Michigan moving on there. Alabama and Akron. I think part of why it felt like we could take Akron aggressively over Texas Tech is because it feels like Alabama's probably the safe pick to come out of this group of four here.
Yeah.
So we'll go with the Crimson Tide now. And although definitely do not overlook the Akron Zips, they can definitely keep up with Alabama in that game. Tennessee and Virginia. Maybe this is where we kind of switch it up a little bit. I feel like this is going to be a really competitive game. Tennessee might have the advantage inside. I kind of wonder if this is our chance here to grab like a 6 seed over a 3.
6 over 3 doesn't happen often, but
It happens. Yeah, it can happen every once in a while. Like I feel like we need to have at least one top 3 seed falling out here.
Yeah, I think Tennessee can be that team to do it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Tennessee moves on.
And then Santa Clara and Iowa State. I'll tell you what, like I think we're gonna end up with Iowa State here just because of how good they've been in neutral venues. But man, I will not rule out Santa Clara.
I mean, their strength of schedule really isn't far off if that's something you pay attention to. Points per game not far off. It's really just Iowa State's defense is the difference maker.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If Iowa State is on, they are tough to beat. There's very few teams that can beat them. But they have been prone on occasion to have bad days, and that's where Santa Clara could have a shot. But I think we'll have Iowa State moving on. We'll assume a good day for the Cyclones.
Yeah, I mean, betting on a bad day is like the lottery, or yeah, like you were betting on a good team to be bad. Like that just doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with the lights are bright, you feel like lots of times you'll see a top team like that perform. Um, we go to the Sweet 16 of the Midwest region. We have Michigan versus Alabama. I think this is the point where I mean Alabama, their 3 point heavy game, like those threes hit. That's been something that has taken down Michigan before. That's how Michigan lost to Wisconsin was a rain of threes.
The only thing is Alabama's another SEC team that doesn't play defense.
Yeah, and this Michigan team is just a wagon. Um,
Yeah.
I think we'll have them moving on here, and then the other. Oh, also, like to be honest, like if Michigan does not move on from this region, I don't know who will. I really
For real.
like
Miami,
none of the.
Ohio.
Yes, Miami. Oh man, if Michigan gets upset, man, that actually does open up a window there.
Like St. Louis beats Michigan and Miami, Ohio just keeps rolling along.
Also,
They
they're
take out
Miami.
Virginia. Yeah.
They're the real Miami. They were around before Miami was a state. Miami, Florida was a state. Um, so we have Tennessee.
You said Miami,
Tennessee.
Florida was a state.
Oh yeah,
Miami is
yeah,
a city in Florida.
yeah. Miami is the city in Florida, which was not a state. Um, yeah, we have Tennessee versus Iowa State. Who comes out of this one?
I don't know. We had some question marks at the beginning with Miami over Tennessee. I don't know if we can just keep putting Tennessee that far. I don't think they're that great of a team.
Yeah, my one challenge is like, when is the last time Iowa State has? When's the last time Iowa State's made the Elite Eight?
But when was the last time they were a 2 seed?
I feel like that was pretty recent.
I feel like most of the time we see them, they're like an 8 or 9 seed or like a random 5 seed one year.
That's true. Let's see here. They were a 3 seed last year. They lost to Ole Miss. They've been a 3 multiple times. Actually, their last time as a 2 seed, they lost to the Hampton Pirates in the first round. But the second to last time they were a 2 seed was the last time they made the Elite Eight in 2000.
I want to say Iowa State moves on, but I don't know. That's a lot of 1, 2 seeds in the Elite Eight.
You know, maybe we'll just be bold and pick Tennessee.
I mean, it can't hurt.
Like for real, like when I look at like the bottom, like it's all bottom 8 teams of this area here, like I really struggle to figure out like who for sure is gonna who's gonna come out of there. Like I could really see a really there's a scenario where many of them could make a run at this.
Honestly, I
So
think
that's one of my favorite areas to watch in the tournament because that might be where the most chaos happens.
the biggest thing that we screwed up here was that Virginia probably would have been the one moving on.
They could be,
Probably
but
and
Virginia
probably
doesn't
beating
have
Michigan.
but Virginia doesn't have a tremendous tournament history lately. They ever since winning the championship in 2019, they have really struggled in the 2020s.
But
So
you know what? Anytime you pick against them, they show you that they can go one more round.
no, I remember I picked Ohio over them in 2021, and that one was correct.
I don't know. We were pretty bold with Gonzaga. I think we do need a lower seed in here to move on to the Elite Eight. So I think Tennessee, though not probable, I think we can move Tennessee.
They may not even get past their first round game, but
Yeah.
hey, we have them here. Again, very competitive bottom 8 of this Midwest region. A very intriguing area to watch.
I
If
mean,
you like
honestly,
chaos,
like Akron, Miami, St. Louis, Wright State, Santa Clara. I think a case can be made for a lot of those teams to go pretty far.
yeah, 100%. I mean, very, very good squads. Um, I think again for St. Louis, like the problem is running into Michigan, which we'll have Michigan moving on to the Final Four. I think that was a pretty clear pick. That one was one that we've had pretty much all along. Um, yeah, just a very, very good team there. So Michigan moves on from the Midwest region, and now we get ourselves to the Final Four. Our Final Four is UConn coming out of the East region. We have Houston coming out of the South. Gonzaga is our surprise coming out of the West. And Michigan coming out of the Midwest. Now we figure out who wins from there. UConn or Houston?
I think Houston.
I don't know. I'm thinking UConn. I think if Dan Hurley gets his guys this far, I think he might keep them rolling.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they are better offensively, like in terms of efficiency.
Yeah, and that is where Houston has run into troubles against some of the more elite teams they have played. Like
Iowa
against
State,
Arizona,
Arizona, Kansas.
yeah, Houston kind of ran into the problem where they couldn't score enough sometimes.
I mean, I'm okay with UConn. I picked Houston in the other one, so I'm fine with that.
We'll roll a UConn. And then Gonzaga and Michigan. I'm guessing this is where the Gonzaga run ends. We'll end up having to go with Michigan there.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I do want to see them beat Michigan, they're not the Gonzaga from a few years ago. They just aren't. You can tell
Yeah,
just by watching them that they're not. So, as even though we picked them to go to the Final Four, to be honest, I don't see them doing that. I just figured it would be good for our bracket, and some conversation. Just because of their experience, they're always deep. Just there's
Yeah.
one off year where they're not, and I feel like this is a year they can go deep, but I don't think they have a big enough tank. So UConn, Michigan.
Now the question is, do we go with UConn for
Or do
the
we go with
championship?
Michigan?
Do we go with Michigan for the intern?
I don't know. I feel like
The the
I
interesting
feel
part
like
is like UConn is not, they're not playing their best ball down the stretch, which is a concern. Michigan is the most talented team, but it is also fair to ask if they peaked in November and December. So that's kind of the downside of both teams. Again, we are basically um, scrapping at the smallest issues here because both teams are immensely talented and really, really good. Um,
I would say
Dan-
because there's a 9-point difference in points per game, Michigan.
I feel like Michigan's the pick here. I feel like there's a very good chance it's a one seed that wins it all. So yeah,
I mean, what 1-4 for a lot of these brackets?
yeah. But yeah, Michigan has felt like a team that's really difficult to pick against this year.
Yeah. So there you have it. Updog Sports Talks pick of the tournament is Michigan winning it all. Um, Tony would have Tony would have had a lot to say about that.
Oh
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, everybody's bracket's going to be different. I am going to probably have 4 or 5 different brackets if I get enough time later this week. Just for fun, I'm going to see how many of these teams I can actually put into March Madness 2008, even though we have long since not been able to do that. Just because how they play each other, it's not the same. So when you plug it in, it's like the South is playing the West, and then you're like, and then you just spent half an hour putting it together.
Yeah, the other challenge is, I mean, we're running into a point here where there's a lot of teams that are at this level now that weren't there
Yeah.
back when March Madness 2008 came out. It definitely was a fun activity to do for a long time there. Even for a little bit, a couple years ago, I did man versus woman versus machine to see who would pick the best. But yeah, this year probably just be, I'm going to do my own bracket. My wife is doing a bracket, and as I mentioned at one point during the show, my dog is filling out a bracket with me throwing tennis balls and her picking the winner based on which tennis ball she takes. Um, Currently, by the way, she is a gold retriever, and she did pick the UMBC Retrievers to beat Michigan. That is her biggest upset. Naturally, she's biased towards retrievers.
All right. So there you have it. That is, I'll probably do a coin flip bracket.
That's a good one too.
Just for shits and giggles. Um,
Well, it looks like I got a tag. This video is not made for kids.
I would have done that anyway. We did make it pretty far without saying any.
I know, we got so close.
Yeah, I mean, I had to friggin' go and ruin it. All right, so we'll catch you guys next week. Tune in to Updog Sports Talk on YouTube. X, we're still trying to figure out what's going on with that, but we are now consistently getting our show out to wherever you find your podcast. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, see you guys next time. You're gonna have to,